Hi, everybody. This is Lauren Baker, founder of Search Engine Journal. Welcome to today's SEJ webinar with Michael Johnson, CEO at Resolve. Hey, Michael, how's it going?
It's going good, Lauren. How about you?
Oh, doing great, man. Doing great. Thank you.
Awesome.
So thanks, everyone, for attending today. We're going to be discussing backlinks versus brand mentions. Who would have thought 5 years ago when everyone was saying this stuff didn't matter anymore, it would be as important as it's ever been, right?
Link building's been dead for 10 years now, I'm pretty sure, but it keeps resurrecting.
keeps on popping up. So very thankful to AI for making this relevant again, so to speak. So yeah, backlinks versus brand mentions, how to engineer campaigns that earn links, mentions, and citations. So I think 10 years ago, we would have been just talking about links. Now we're talking about more about the mentions and citations part. Really useful and topical things. Before Michael gets going, I just want to give everyone that's coming in a little bit late, we're 1 minute in, a chance to kind of get settled. As you all can see, we do have a chat room. So if you wouldn't mind, just kind of like, hey, Catfish. I see Catfish left a comment. So you wouldn't mind just kind of chime in, letting everyone know where you're coming in from. I see some folks from Jersey, Quebec, North Yorkshire. So congratulations for making it this evening. Yeah, so just chime in there. Get used to using your keyboard while we're doing this webinar. And also, just to let you know, underneath the screen, you will see some emojis. So as Michael's presenting, please feel free to support him with some smiley faces, some hearts, some razor roofs. We all love our emojis, man.
I really need those if I'm going to get through this.
Yeah. And last but not least, well, two more things. One, Michael's going to be launching a poll during the presentation. So we highly ask our participants and attendees to take part in the poll. It really gives Michael a way to craft a lot of his presentation, just understanding the audience and everything else. And then once the presentation is over, we will be doing a live Q&A session. So as you have questions during Michael's presentation, please feel free to enter them into the Q&A box. We'll be going through them and asking them live afterwards. Anything I missed there, Michael?
I don't think so. I think we're ready to cook over here.
All right, so I'm gonna get out of here, and I'll be back during the presentation. Leave things to you.
You bet. Thank you so much, Lauren. All right, so real quick, we'll kick off the poll. The poll, I always like to kind of start off, just get an idea of where you're coming from with this. Question is, does your organization actively build links? And you can include, digital PR, those kinds of things. Are you trying to do off-page SEO? Potential answers, yes, and we're great at it. Yes, but we're struggling. No, but we want to. And no, and we don't want to. And if you're no and we don't want to, I'm not sure if you're going to get a lot of value here, but we're still gonna teach you a thing or two on digital PR and link building and off-page SEO. So I'll give you guys kind of a second here to click in on the poll there and get your responses in. It looks like most of the people are right in the range where I think you'll get the most out of this. They're the yes, we're struggling, and no, but we want to crew. So I think you're gonna really benefit from what we're talking about today. So let's go ahead. I'll give you another second here, and then I will close the poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, cool. All right. Well, like we said here, vast majority of people are right in those middle two. So yeah, today we're going to be talking about backlinks versus brand mentions, how to engineer campaigns that earn links, mentions, and citations. Who am I? I'm Michael Johnson. I'm the CEO at Resolve. We are a digital PR and link building agency based in Boise, Idaho. I have been doing link building for 13 years now. I've been after it for a while now. Over that time, I've developed strategies for hundreds of companies, ranging from SMBs all the way up to Fortune 500 companies that you know and love and see every day. Outside of SEO and stuff and all that kind of stuff, I'm a husband, I'm a dad, and I'm a fan of perpetually mediocre sports teams. Although the Bears are kind of good this year, so that's feeling great. So what is Resolve? Like I mentioned, we're a boutique digital PR and link building agency. We are equipped to build and execute strategies tailored to your unique goals and organizational needs. Here's an awesome picture of all of our smiley team members. All of them are great folks doing amazing work here to help our clients accomplish their goals. So the latest debate in off-page SEO, you see time and time again, is which is more important? Is it backlinks or is it brand mentions? Overall, I'm going to kind of take a little bit of peacekeeper stance on this, and you'll see in a minute. But yeah, in terms of what we're looking at here, let's define both of these. So what are brand mentions? Brand mentions occur when a brand is referenced online with or without a clickable link, right? So if your brand gets mentioned in the anchor text of the link, right, that is going to be that is still a mention and a backlink. So some backlinks are also mentions, which is great. So they can appear in articles, social media, press coverage, etc. There's two types. One is a linked mention. This is, again, where you have a backlink with your mention. And then there are unlinked mentions, which can also be referred to as implied links. This is when your brand gets mentioned without a link. And again, historically, unlinked mentions, implied links, have kind of been just ignored by a lot of SEOs. I've been in the link building industry for years. If there's not a link with that mention or that placement, clients are usually not happy. They won't want to count that towards their deliverables, right? However, we're starting to see a little bit of a shift in SEO. So really what's happening here is that modern search engines don't just evaluate who links to you, they evaluate who talks about you, in what context and how often. So brand mentions help search engines understand a few different things: what your brand is, what you're known for, and how trustworthy and visible you are in your industry, and not just search engines, but LLMs as well. So the case for brand mentions as to why they are important and why we need to be paying attention to them. Ahrefs did an awesome AI overview ranking correlation study fairly recently. And in that, they found that the number one factor for a brand being able to show up in AI overviews are branded web mentions, even higher than the number of referring domains or backlinks that they have. So we're seeing that AI, especially in LLMs, they love brand mentions. And so it's becoming, and as that sector becomes bigger and bigger in the overall search pie, you're going to want to have that within your arsenal of off-page SEO. The funny thing is that this isn't new. Rand Fishkin 10 years ago tweeted, him and Cyrus Shepard had looked into it. And basically Cyrus Shepard found that a Google patent defined non-linking citations as implied links. So Google has long been able to detect implied links from within these brand mentions, and quite likely has been providing, those have been providing benefit to brands as part of their off-page SEO strategy. If you didn't think that they mattered, they likely have been for a while now. We're just seeing that being taken up a notch in the new SEO landscape. So again, instead of who's looking at who's linking to you, Google's paying attention to who you are, where and how you're mentioned, and whether those mentions are trustworthy, consistent, and relevant to what you do. So let's now talk about backlinks. If you're here, I assume and I hope you already know what a backlink is, but basically a backlink is a link from one website to another. It acts as a vote of confidence, signals to search engines that other websites trust, reference, or endorse your content. There are a few different types of backlinks, right? We have our favorite follow or do follow link, right? These are the ones that officially pass authority, link equity from a linking page to the destination. There's no follow links. This is the no follow tag that basically says, don't follow this for SEO value. As much as people say these don't count, I've seen case studies before where you only build no follow links and they do pass some ranking power. So again, what we think about links and what matters and what doesn't is definitely shifting. And then last is sponsored links. So this is something people can put in if something is part of an advertising arrangement to provide clarity to Google on the nature of that relationship. So the case for backlinks is that the correlation still remains very strong. The more linking domains you have, the better chance you have to rank. Pages that rank number one on Google have on average 3.8 times the number of backlinks than pages in slots 2 through 10. That's something that Backlinko found. So again, seeing a very strong correlation between backlinks and rankings, that continues to be the case. So really, again, backlinks continue to be one of the strongest and most measurable ranking signals in SEO. They help with domain authority, trustworthiness, topical relevance, and expertise. They really help Google to figure out all things being the same, which of these pages should be ranked first? Again, correlation still remains strong, and that number really does pop out when you see how important they are to those top ranking pages. So what should you be doing? Should you be focusing on brand mentions? Should you be focusing on backlinks in the modern SEO landscape? Why not both? That's how I feel about it. You should be trying to get both of these as part of your strategy, and you should view both of them as wins in terms of your website's ability to be visible online. So we need to change the context through which we view off-page SEO. We need to stop thinking about links and brand mentions as a commodity, and instead think about your off-page SEO through the lens of brand building. What messages am I sending to Google, to LLMs, and most importantly to users about what am I an authority on? What audiences pay attention to me? And ultimately, what questions am I most qualified to answer and rank for? And this is really the direction that I'm seeing things move in. So again, link building is more than a magic quantity of DA and DR of backlinks, right? It's about the building your brand. We're seeing so many quotes about this. Skylar Reeves from Ardent Growth said that means giving up the hacks, the spam, the corner cutting. If you want to build something sustainable, you need to build a brand. Digital PR, to me, provides the best route to marry those worlds of the SEO value of backlinks and the branding power of PR. You can get both of those things going for you, and set up campaigns that are sustainable and that can help you to succeed in the new search landscape, both with LLMs and with traditional search. Again, like we mentioned, links and brand mentions are critical to AI and search rankings. The correlation studies continue to show this. So how do you develop strategies to get both brand mentions and backlinks? Let's go ahead and dive into it. And to start off, I always like to kind of fill people in on my approach to off-page SEO. For years and years and years, off-page SEO has basically just been like, you go to your, whatever vendor, you fill out an order form, you say, I need 5 DA 30 to 50 links, I need 5 DA 50 to 70, go get them. They go get you guest post links on whatever blogs out there, probably iffy relevance, etc. That's not what I want for you. What I want for you is to be able to create sustainable, repeatable strategies. And what we want to do today is to make digital PR a sustainable, repeatable thing for you. But to do this, we need to understand what is linkable content. How do we break away from the hacks and the quick little, cheap link building wins and really get links that move the needle, that demonstrate the power of our brand and set us up for long-term success. So linkable assets, this is how we do this. We need to have content that is actually valuable to the web. So we're gonna talk about what they are and what they are not. So what is linkable content? Linkable content is designed for the primary purpose of earning links. It is original, accurate, and tailored to a well-defined audience. It's gonna be informational and educational in nature. Its primary purpose is not to drive leads, sales, or conversions. One thing we're going to always kind of have to talk about when it comes to link building is that there's always going to be an exchange of value. The value is going to be dependent on what you have to offer. If you don't have anything informational or educational or interesting or fun, the value is always going to be money. You're going to be stuck in, low quality pay for play, opportunities. If you can really start creating things that are valuable to people, that's where you can break through that and start getting those better, higher quality links. The next thing is you want to connect your website with relevant audiences and niches. Linkable content should expand the spheres of relevance for your website beyond your product and beyond your buying audience. It should be top of the funnel. So this means its primary purpose, again, is to provide value to the searcher and get people introduced to your brand. Again, you kind of think about if somebody's first getting introduced to your brand and it's just like a really crummy guest post where you say like the top places to get a loan, my website's the top place to get, that's not a good initial view. Instead, if you're providing them with valuable personal finance advice, they're going to start to build trust in your brand. So to give you an example, I had a call with a client of about 6 months ago, and they sell contact lenses. And in that conversation, he said to me, he's like, we sell contact lenses. There's nothing really interesting about that. I don't know how you're going to create an interesting digital PR story about contact lenses. And I said, well, no, like eyeglasses and contact lenses, they touch so many other areas of life. Senior citizens need eyeglasses and good eye care as their eye, conditions deteriorate. There's different eye conditions that are out there. Parenting, a lot of parents find out that their kids need glasses for the first time, and they need to know how they can help their kids. Students in education, again, a lot of the time you find out you have an eye issues because you can't read something on the blackboard, right? There's all kinds of things that intersect with eyeglasses. Now, you can use ChatGPT to help you do this. I highly recommend this when you start doing a link building or digital PR campaign. Identify your spheres of relevance. You can use ChatGPT to do this. Explain to them what you're trying to do, that you're trying to earn relevant, organic backlinks. You want to find audiences and topics and groups that are relevant to the subject matter of your site, and it can help you to ideate that. So if you want any more advice on how to do that, feel free to connect with me after the webinar. Happy to walk you through how you can use that. But this is what we did for the client. This was 6 months ago, like I said. So over that time, we've since launched a campaign and gotten over 500 placements with it. So let's talk about how we did that. As I mentioned, eyeglasses have a cross-section with a lot of different topics, including fashion. And fashion relates to dating, how you present yourself, what styles people find attractive, etc. Anytime you can talk about dating, a lot of people are interested in that. People want to know how they can have more success dating. So we ran a survey of 1,000 people to ask them a variety of questions that relate to eyes, eye contact, eyewear, and dating, to see what kinds of interesting takeaways we could find. And we found some really interesting ones. One was that 58% of people said that glasses made somebody more attractive. Men are actually more likely to find glasses attractive. 69% of men find glasses attractive, 46% of women do. One of the very interesting ones was that 58% said eye contact felt more intimate than physical touch. So again, we've now brought in eyes and vision and brought it into this world of dating and found all these really interesting takeaways from our survey data that journalists want to write about. And sure enough, a ton of journalists picked it up. New York Post ran the story because we found that weird stat that Gen Z specifically likes eye contact more than physical touch. They were able to apply something there. Again, Toronto Sun ran with that statistic as well. They found that very interesting. PsychReg, a couple news stations picked it up and it got syndicated across their networks. This was because the stat about men finding eyeglasses to be more attractive, right? So this piece, all in all, has gotten over 500 backlinks and brand mentions and counting. Super successful, amazing campaign. And it all came down to finding the subject matter of the site, connecting that to a topic that people genuinely care about and find interesting. So that's why this worked. We found something that people would find interesting. We presented it to the journalists that write for those people. It's almost as if it worked because it was actually useful, helpful, and interesting. That's why it worked. So is what I'm telling you here that link building is altruistic? It can be, kind of. It's a little bit of the Victoria and David Beckham thing. I'm here to help people. Be honest. No, my content is really valuable. Be honest. Okay, I just want the links. Thank you. Right. Yes, we want the links. That's what we're here for. That's what we're trying to do. These brand mentions and links are important. But to get there, you actually do have to provide some value to the web. So again, at its core, good link building is a mutually beneficial situation for three parties. The user, because they get some valuable, helpful information, is valuable to the site owner or to the journalist because it positions them as a source for providing valuable resources and helpful information. Also, if you're a journalist and your article's getting a bunch of clicks, that's going to look good for them, right? They want that. And then last, it's great for you because you are getting a backlink or a mention that is sending valuable SEO signals and potentially valuable referral traffic as well. If you get published in a publication that gets thousands or millions of visitors every month, you can benefit from that and get some referral traffic. So when it comes to creating a piece of content that you want to use for linkable content, ask yourself these questions. Who does this content apply to? If it applies to everybody, if it's relevant to everybody, it's relevant to nobody. Again, we should have a defined topic or audience. Why should they care? What unique information does this provide that they can't already get from somewhere else? What problems does this solve? Again, is it promotional? Most people don't like giving away free advertising. So if you have something that's too promotional, you're already at a disadvantage. And then last, ask yourself, how would somebody link to this piece? Again, can I get a journalist to write an article about it? Can it be included in a list? Can it get added to a resource page? You have to think about actually where would this piece get linked to and how. So it's time to really go into it now, what you really came for. How can you create and promote linkable assets that help you get links from top tier publications? That's what you want. Give me that. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. So step one, you need to give them, AKA journalists, what they want. And what do they want? Data shows that they want proprietary data and research. This means surveys, reports, meta rankings, other unique insights for data-driven storytelling are going to be things that they're interested in. You need to provide it in journalist-friendly formats, compelling stories that have media hooks that align with their interests. And then last, a multimedia experience, having data visualizations, interactive charts, expert commentary, heck, even video. These are all things that can make your piece more easily digestible and more valuable to journalists and their audiences. So what we do with this is we create a digital PR magnet. This is the hub, the landing page that we would create on a client's website or that you would create on your website to attract those opportunities. So again, according to Cision, 61% of journalists want original research reports. This allows them to write unique stories that engage readers. The next thing you have to ask yourself is what I'm talking about actually newsworthy? Who cares about this? Again, I have a lot of people who are like, hey, I want to write a story about this topic, and it ends up being like super self-serving and way too niche, and like there's no opportunity for that, right? So who cares about the information you're providing? Is it a beat that is regularly covered by journalists? Again, find a beat that your piece will apply to that you can then use to find journalists that will be a good fit. And then does it affect the readers of these journalists? So what should include data-driven insights, exclusive industry reports and surveys, expert commentary, visuals, and it should tie in to relevant stories within the news cycle. And sometimes you can just have fun. And I'll show you an example of that here in a little bit. So another example, this is a piece that we put together for Gusto. We surveyed 1,000 US workers to ask them how they felt about AI, what their anxiety or concerns about it were, how they're using it in the workplace. And we got some amazing feedback. One of those was that we found that 45% of US workers use AI without telling their manager. So we got an awesome interactive map here that shows which states are most anxious, how people are using it. But this stat here was one that really popped out. And we got we got Inc.com to pick up the story, Tech.co, Investopedia, Forbes, HR Dive, a few local publications as well, right? Fox picked it up because we had this, Fox Phoenix picked it up because, as you can see here, Arizona happens to be one of the highest anxiety states. So they thought that was interesting and relevant for their audience. So again, why this worked is we had multiple data sources. We used some Google Trends data. We also used our survey data. Having this proprietary data means that we are providing journalists with something that is exclusive and fresh. They can't get this anywhere else. It helps to make it newsworthy. So the next thing that you need to do once you kind of have an idea of the direction you want to go is you need to be able to create a compelling survey. This is probably the hardest part. This is where a lot of people fall short because your survey and the quality of it are going to dictate the data that you get. And the data that you get is what's going to tell your story. So before you write a single survey question, you have to imagine what the headline would be if your data could reveal something interesting. Again, ask yourself, if this result were surprising, would a journalist write about it? Would this make somebody stop scrolling? And does it tie into a broader conversation or trend that's happening online? So an example of how to think about your questions, what not to do would be say, what percentage of Americans like working remotely? that's too broad and it's already known. Most people love working remote, and it's already been captured a billion times, probably back during COVID. However, let's say you could find this. Nearly half of Gen Z employees admit they work from bed every day. That is visual. That is surprising. That is relatable. I'll tell you what, New York Post, according to the story I got them to pick up in that other example, would probably love something like this because it's just ragging on Gen Z, and a lot of journalists and publications like doing that. So that's the way to think about this. Focus on human stories, not brand stories. Journalists write about people, not companies. Make your survey center around human behaviors, opinions, and experiences, not your product. So example themes, right? Habits, fears, dreams, or regrets. 1 in 3 homeowners regret their latest renovation. We actually ran this piece for a client, and he's a small home renovation contractor in LA, and we got him picked up by Martha Stewart. Just a ridiculous link he wouldn't have been able to get otherwise. Modern life trends. Most parents now use ChatGPT to help with homework. Cultural divides, boomers versus Gen Z on financial priorities. Emotional hooks. Half of pet owners say they'd go into debt to save their dog, right? These are all themes and things that you can tap into to tap into the human story behind the data. Design it for visual storytelling. Think ahead about how the data will look in charts or maps. Again, visual data is going to be more linkable. So a state-by-state map, pie charts, top 10 lists. You and your team should brainstorm visual formats alongside the question, so you can think how this is all going to tie back into that visual representation. So in terms of like angles that you can go that regularly work, that we see success with, one is generational gaps, right? A piece about how Gen Z or boomers differ on a certain topic, or look at this weird thing Gen Zs do, right? Those things work pretty well. Regional rankings, the states with the most X, or the most X states in America. Again, you can use that to contact and to target journalists in the states that rank at the highest and the lowest in your list. Emotional confessions, what people secretly do or think about X topic, right? Again, that's, you feel like you're getting the inside track on something. Tech anxiety. Again, we're in a crazy world right now with the evolution of technology, AI and LLMs. I will say it's getting a little saturated for AI, but again, if you find the right angle, it can work. Financial behaviors, what people regret most about their spending habits, right? These are all things that people generally find interesting. And if you can find your own unique angle and create a survey that can find and uncover new data and compelling data, these are great angles to tap into. So what if you don't have a survey, or what if you don't want to run a survey? Number one, I strongly recommend you do. I have been really chasing digital PR hard for the last few years now. I have tried everything. I have run survey. I've done surveys with my team before. I have just used Google Trends data. I've even, just to show you, created a superhero for each state using AI, and I pitched that out. So again, I found success without surveys, but I will say this: if you want a sustainable system that's going to work every time, it's much better to have that in your arsenal. So again, I don't recommend going this kind of fun, zany route, but it can work. I've gotten it to work. I got NBC New York with a piece about the 10 most Googled monsters in America. Basically what I did was I found out what each state's like mythical creature was, like urban legend. And then I found out how often they get Googled across the United States, and then put together a ranking for it. And a ton of radio stations and even, TV stations picked it up in each of those states. So again, you can get weird. It can work. If it's a good starting place for you, go for it. But long-term, I would recommend having some good data from surveys. So once you've created your piece, you ran your survey, you've interpreted the data, you've created your piece, you got to find journalists that want to pick up your story. So there's a few things to look at. Number one is, what are the relevant beats that are relevant to my piece and the data headline that we uncovered? Again, you should have put some thought into this initially, but again, refresh on that and make sure you have a good understanding for it. Next, what journalists are in the cities, states, and regions that rank well or poorly on my list, right? If you do that top 10 angle, you can have a whole angle for local relevance that you can tap into. Does this journalist cover studies, surveys, data, etc.? One of the biggest problems I see people do when it comes to targeting and list building is that they will target journalists who just don't cover studies and don't cover survey data. So you're going to end up targeting a journalist who just covers, car accidents or crime in their area, and there's just no chance they're going to cover your story. So you can use a few different tools to help you. Muckrack and Prowly both are really great. They have a large database of journalists that you can tap into. I'm pretty sure Prowly is SEMrush owned, so they probably get a little extra love there. But yeah, so anyways, good stuff there. BuzzStream and BuzzSumo as well are really good things to see kind of what journalists are writing about, who's writing about it. BuzzStream has a new tool for list building as well. That's definitely worth checking out. So yeah, of all kinds of tools you can use to help you in your journey. If you want further recommendations on it, again, feel free to reach out to me. So once you now know who you're reaching out to, let's talk about what you got to send out. Number one, personalized outreach. Just like link building is about quality over quantity, so is outreach. Again, I've tried it both ways. I've sent 2,000 emails to journalists for a campaign. And I will say this, I would rather send 100 really good emails than send 2,000 low quality ones. The results are better. And again, not necessarily saves you time, but your results will be better if you focus on quality over quantity. So your pitch should be personal to them and their publication. One of our digital PR specialists, I saw him talking about vacation plans with an editor at Vice. Like, it was awesome. Like, they were just having a great personal conversation. That sets you up for a long-term relationship with this person. Again, showing genuine interest and care in people, turns out it goes a long way. So, and you can only get that if you're sending out personalized outreach. Timeliness. Inboxes are being hammered with pitches from all directions. You need to make sure your emails are being sent at a time that they'll be seen. If you're in Pacific time, don't send an email at 4 p.m. to a journalist on Eastern time where it's 7 p.m. and they might not be working, right? Think about when they're receiving the email and when your email will have the best chance of being seen. And then last, follow up. Don't forget to follow up. Follow-ups are a gentle reminder that journalists need to respond. Muckrack noted that 51% of journalists do prefer one follow-up. 48% are more likely to 48% are more likely to respond if they receive it within 3 to 7 days after the initial pitch. So I usually recommend sending 2 follow-ups just to kind of give yourself that third opportunity. Your first email is giving them the full pitch. Your second email is like, hey, just want to make sure you saw this. And then your third one is just, hey, thanks so much for considering it. Wanted to give you one last shout to let you know that we sent this out. And you should have your second pitch sent, your first follow-up sent within 3 to 7 days after the initial pitch. So this is usually how we structure our outreach for our campaigns. Most digital PR campaigns take around 3 months from start to finish. The first month is just going to be building that asset that you're creating, ideating, coming up with it, getting a survey put together, getting that survey sent out, getting the data back, interpreting that data, then using it to create a piece that can live on your website. Once that's done, you can start the outreach topic. So again, it's usually about a 4-week process that we spend on our outreach. Weeks 5 through 6 is the initial outreach to top tier publications. Weeks 6 through 7 is now secondary in industry outlets and niche media. The reason why you want to prioritize those top tier publications is because you can pitch them on an exclusive for the story, which will increase your chances of getting picked up. So start with the big ones, then work your way down. Usually it's about 4 to 6 weeks of outreach that you can anticipate doing. After that time period, your story's probably not very newsworthy anymore, and it's probably time to move on to your next campaign. So that's usually how we recommend doing it. Again, first 2 weeks, really focus on top tier publications. The next 2 weeks, shift your focus to those secondary and niche media outlets. From there, you need to check when you're getting placements. I will say this, I've done a lot of different kinds of link building. A lot of times with like a resource link or like a guest post, they'll tell you your link is live. Like, hey, I published your piece. Journalists sometimes just, they see your story, they think it's interesting, they write a story about it, and you never hear anything back. So again, you can use tools like Ahrefs, Muckrack, BuzzSumo. They can help you to measure and monitor for media pickups, backlinks, and audience engagement. Again, engage with journalists, have genuine conversations with them outside of the email that you're sending, asking them to pick up your story. Promote the content. If they write a story about you, share it on your social media. Like, get it out there, help them get more coverage, and they'll appreciate that. And then last, and something we'll talk about here in a second, internal link opportunity. You need to make sure that you are internally linking these assets that you're creating to the main pages on your site that you're trying to promote. This is the question I always get. Great, I'm getting links and mentions and stuff, but how do I make my money pages rank? Internal links is the best way to do this when it comes to creating linkable content. So if you can commit to this philosophy, you will have a sustainable approach to earning organic links, a constant flow of authority coming into your website, so you can channel that authority into your money pages through internal linking. So this is kind of what an ideal campaign would look like for me, right? I would be building out a few different linkable content pieces, a link generating guide to help you get some resource links. We'd have our digital PR magnet that we're getting digital PR with. And then what we're doing is we are internally linking all of these assets into those main target pages that we're hoping to influence and create movement on. That is a great way to funnel authority. And then also, again, just adding more internal links to these pages shows Google what pages on your website are most important to your brand and to your organization. So let's say you take all the time to do this. You build out all these, you create a survey, you send a survey, you write a huge article, you outreach to journalists, you do all the, is it even worth it? The answer is absolutely yes. This is a really good case study of a client that we've been running a very holistic link building campaign for a while now, using a variety of strategies, including digital PR. We've been able to help them grow their traffic by 300,000 monthly visitors over the last 2 years. We've been able to help them 4x traffic to one of their core product pages. So again, when we talk about a strategic campaign that is helping you to influence your bottom line for your organization, it takes a little bit of time, but over time you can create this lift and get results to these strategic types of pages. So yeah, answer is absolutely yes. This stuff works. It gets results. Takes some time, but it's worth it. So that's kind of what I had for everybody today. I know we're going to be jumping into a Q&A, which I love Q&As. So we'll do that. In the meantime, I'm going to leave this up here for you guys. If you want to get a free digital PR starter kit, basically what you'll get is you'll get 5 free digital PR concepts from me. I'll put together a link gap analysis. And then there's a 30-minute consultation call where I'll walk you through the data, what we're seeing, and what the best opportunities are for your brand for digital PR. So if you scan that, you can set up your time for the consultation call, and I'll come prepared with the digital PR starter kit for you.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael. Lots of really good information there, and a lot of good questions that came in from our attendees today. And just to answer one of our most popular questions, yes, today's video will be made available to all registrants and attendees. And do we have slides, Michael, to give out?
I can always send out slides.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'll send the deck out.
All right. The more we can distribute these slides, the better. So, and then now to get into the nitty gritty, had a lot of questions that came in about running a survey. So I'm just basically going to merge them all together into one question. So what are your, first of all, how do you typically run a survey? Are there any specific tools or services that you recommend using? Yeah. And then also, what are your overall best practices for putting together a survey and then identifying the data to put into a linkable content piece?
Yeah. So number one, the platform I like to use for surveys, our team uses Pollfish for that. So pretty awesome platform. You can go in there, you can build out your survey, you can set up your targeting to target the specific audience segment or group that you're trying to get your piece in front of. It can qualify ahead of, serving the rest of the survey. So yeah, I think it's a great platform. We use it all the time. So that's Pollfish, Pollfish. I get that question every time I do a webinar.
Nice. And do you have any tips on putting the survey together? Anything like, whether or not to use yes or no questions, ratings, on that side, and how to basically, do you have the end data in mind before putting together those questions, or is it something that typically percolates after you're reviewing the responses?
Yeah, it kind of happens in both ways a little bit. So number one, going into it, you should have a general idea of what the story is that you're going to try to tell with this story, or like with your survey. So you should have like, and again, just like any experiment that's out there, you're going to have your hypothesis, and then your experiment's going to prove or disprove your hypothesis. And sometimes the disproving is just as interesting as when it gets proven. So keep that in mind. In terms of how to structure your questions, the best way that I recommend doing it, if you want to get data that is more newsworthy, would be to make sure that you ask questions that can be answered with like strong disagree, kind of disagree, neutral, partly agree, strong agree, right? Having that kind of a scale with your questions, or I do this never, I do this rarely, sometimes, all the time, right? Having that in there can then allow you to put data in groups that makes it more interesting. So for example, let's say you ask the silly example I gave earlier, study shows that 50% of Gen Z works in bed, right? If you send your survey out and you only ask, do you work in bed? Yes or no. You're probably gonna get more no's than yeses. If you say rarely, sometimes, all the time, right? You now can then, somebody who maybe would have said no before, but they're like, actually, I do it once a month. They'll say rarely. You now with your data have a bigger percentage that you can say, yes, these people have admitted to working from bed, or this group has. So that's why I recommend, and setting those questions up that way will let you get more compelling and interesting data points when you're pitching to journalists.
Speaking of pitching to journalists, do you usually have your own curated list of journalists that you've researched? Do you cold pitch, or do you try to build a relationship beforehand?
All of the above. So number one, long-term, the cool thing about digital PR is that the longer you keep after it and do it, and the better you are at providing people with actual value and information, they come to trust you and recognize you. And like, even our agency, like we've been really building this program for the last, few years now. And, my digital PR manager all the time is like, hey, we actually have a few journalists, like they know us, they know our brand. When Resolve pitches them a story, they know it's going to be a good story because we provide that regularly. So yes, establishing relationships is going to be long-term one of the best ways for you to get consistent wins. But next, you need to be able to be good at list building and creating target lists of journalists. Again, to get the breadth and the reach that you need for a campaign to successfully get coverage consistently, you've got to get new opportunities in the pipeline. And so definitely get good at that. Again, the best way that I've seen to do this, let's have some fun here. Why not? So number one, if you have access to a muck rack or like Prowly, you can just say, this is the niche I want journalists in. This is the location I want journalists in. Feed me the journalist. These are the titles of journalists I want. Feed me the journalist. It'll get you a list. And you can start building a list that way. If you're bootstrapping this a little bit, there's a few different ways you can do things, right? One is you can use like a Google News search and try to get some Boolean operators going. So for example, I might say site, I want links from inc.com, right? And then I want someone who's talked about survey, or let's say it's study and AI. Now I can find if there are journalists who have recently covered AI related studies. Now, if I'm going to pitch my AI piece to a journalist on Inc., I've got a few different people I can try. It looks like, where's Jeffrey Funk? Okay, here's one right here. Oh no. There's one I really wanted. This one will work fine. Louise K. Allen, right? This is an expert opinion piece though, so not a good example. I'll find one that's good. Anyways, what you're looking for is somebody who actually writes for the publication and covers the topic that you were trying to write about, and then see if you can provide them a new piece or a new angle, something that maybe they haven't been able to cover before in that area, because they're already interested in that topic, and that they're already covering studies. So that's what so right here, Kit Eaton, good example, how to hire Kit covers science and technology for Inc. and Fast Company. Awesome. You can follow them on Twitter. So you can maybe try to get in touch with them through social media. You can use like Hunter.io to try to re-engineer his email address. There's different things you can do to try to get in touch with that person. But that's an example of how you could use like a Boolean search on Google News to help you find journalists that might cover the topic that you want to write about.
Very cool. So just to add to that, I noticed that the journalist that you brought up, it's almost like a 2-for-1 deal, right? Writes for Inc. and Fast Company. And best case scenario, maybe they cover the study on both properties, which would be nice. Also notice when you're presenting, some of the pickup you had were from a lot of different radio stations. And past experience, what I've had is like, if one Clear Channel station picks something up, all of them do, right?
Yes.
And then they'll also talk about it on the air, which is hard to capture.
Oh yeah.
Which is hard to capture, but
it is.
If you can get an auto recording of that, it just makes it even better.
Oh yeah. No, I've had that Monsters one that I showed in the presentation. That one, we ended up like getting our client invited onto like a bunch of paranormal podcasts because they were like, oh, you guys are talking about, the unknown and, all this, what's that area called? Anyway, like all these, like, and so they picked it up like crazy and like we got a bunch of weird invites to podcasts. So yeah, you can get kind of non-traditional off page, but more traditional PR opportunities through that. Yeah.
So I guess that leads to my question is, do you suggest going for that target that can, if you hit it, leads to multiple links and tons of coverage, and or going directly to each individual journalist, or both?
Both, but I always start with that first one. That's something that's why I kind of mentioned in our outreach kind of cadence. The first 2 weeks is always going to be going after those top tier journals and publishers and publications, because if you get something placed on New York Post, like that's going to get syndicated. Yahoo News is going to pick it up. Often Toronto Sun will pick up stories that the New York Post picks up, and then the Toronto Sun piece will then syndicate across a bunch of Canadian newspapers. And so, yeah, you can get those types of wins there. So yes, that's number one thing to go for. But yeah, like Town Square Media, Clear Media, like a lot of those ones, if you can get on one of their radio station sites, that's going to get syndicated across a bunch of different radio stations. So yeah, absolutely. Like play for those syndications and go for them. And in a world where, again, building your brand and having, more brand mentions out there, people sometimes turn their nose up to syndications. It's like, no, like getting that reach and getting that out there is going to be valuable for you, and get those wins. Those are fantastic.
Absolutely. So that leads to the next question that came in. And you had shared some tools out there like BuzzStream and others that are good for email, email list management with reaching out to journalists. One question that comes in is like, how do you mass email all of these people on your media list? An issue says that their emails tend to get blocked when doing so. So
yeah, so number one, again, I recommend personalized emails to journalists. If it means that you're only sending 100 to 200 emails instead of 1,000 to 2,000, do it. Take the time to send valuable, individualized pitches to these people. Again, the campaign that I showed you where we got 500 placements, that came from doing our usual 200 or so outreaches. We got some syndications that really, helped out, but we got amazing coverage doing that. And it was because we took the time to provide personalized, valuable outreach to journalists and really make the case why our piece applies to them and to their audience. So again, there's some templates you can use and things like that to kind of work out of and get started on to help you expedite the process. But I prefer personalization over volume any day.
Great. Thank you very much. Next question that comes in from Bryson is, how do you determine the data that journalists may want? Do you ever ask them directly? Do you ever ping them or pull them on their like what they might be writing for like the next month or around a certain holiday, anything along those lines, and any tips you may have there?
Absolutely. Yeah. Reach out to journalists, like find out, put some feelers out there. BuzzSumo is also really good for just kind of seeing what's trending and what's going on in the news cycle and out in the space. You can use that. So yeah, definitely reach out and find out. And then again, use your own experience, like within your business, your organization, your company. If there are certain problems or challenges that you're seeing in your industry or in the news, like find out what those deeper questions are that you would want answers to, that you'd want to know how people are feeling. And again, focus on that human aspect. But yeah, those are a few different tools you can use. Definitely put feelers out there to anybody who you think would be a good, person in the know on it. And then number two, use different tools that can help you pick up on trends.
Nice. Okay. Next question. And one of the articles that you shared earlier from Inc. Kind of pertains to this. I noticed one of the articles said sponsored by Adobe at the top, right?
Yeah.
And I think maybe, I'm not sure if it was a sponsored content piece or that like section of the site was sponsored. But the question that comes in from Mariah is, are paid posts good to consider if the website has high authority and is extremely relevant? Mariah's run across some relevant online publications that have a low cost charge per post. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, I think she's probably asking about like traditional like paid guest posting and strategies like that. I once had this guy say, are you white hat or are you black hat? He's like, I don't wear a hat. But when it comes to paid links and everything like that, it's really what your risk tolerance is and what your threshold looks like there. And again, really vetting the website. What I want to ask myself, whether I'm going to pay for a guest post or not, would be, in a world without Google, would I want this link? Would I want to be here? Why would I want to be here? Who might find my information here on this website? If there are no signals that this site is a place where your audience might be participating and engaging and that you can provide meaningful value to the conversation, then I wouldn't want that link paying for it or not paying for it. So I would try to take a step back, look at that website and say, again, if I'm just in this to try to get a DA35 link or a DA55 link because there's a magical number and authority that makes this a good opportunity or not, I wouldn't say that could qualify a link for you. You want to look at some of these other factors before you jump into something like that.
And, jumping from links to implied links, mentions / citations. One question that comes up is, what are some tips on, educating the value of implied links? For years, there's been link building and you reach out to a journalist and they write about the company and they don't link, or they link to like the company's like Crunchbase profile or something like that. And it was just like, oh man, all that time and energy and resources were thrown away. Now there's value, right? So how do you educate that up the ladder?
Yeah, I mean, the way I would always look at it is good, better, best. And the best case scenario I can think of is if you can get a brand mention and a backlink. Like when my digital PR placements get those, I am stoked because I checked both boxes and that's awesome. Sometimes you just get a backlink and that's like like I love getting a good backlink. I think those are super valuable and awesome. And then like your good is like they mentioned you forgot to link. That is still a win. That is still great. And in the current SEO landscape and when it comes to the education process, is showing those correlations between AI overview performance, LLM visibility, those kinds of things, and brand mentions. It is definitely playing a role in those. Again, we have data to show that now. So I think it's just a little bit of an education process of showing those studies and showing those connections, and resetting that expectation that, hey, brand mention plus a backlink, we smashed it. We're stoked. We're excited. We just got a brand mention. Still great. Awesome. Like this is going to help us and this is going to be good for us building our brand in the long term.
Gotcha. Which leads to the next question is, speaking of AI overviews and GPT and everything else, there's a lot of prevalence for paid listicles being cited on AI overviews and ChatGPT. A lot of those paid listicles have brand mentions, but then they link to an affiliate link, right? So let's look at like Bankrate or Healthline, all of those, like all the Red Ventures properties. So question is, sure, there's brand mention value there, but is there value to the redirect that ends up landing on the client site as well?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, you would, again, Google is following links as a navigational tool through the web. And so it's going to follow from one link to the next link to the final destination. It's probably diminished return concern, compared to getting that direct backlink, but there's still definitely value there. Funny, Lily Ray is either yesterday or the day before was doing a webinar and was talking about that whole craze right now of like paid listicle articles. And it's like, I feel like as SEOs, we always are just running to like that like lowest, barrier, whatever entry level we can. And it's like, okay, so I don't do my normal guest post. Now I do a paid listicle piece. I wouldn't get too caught up. Again, have that as part of your arsenal. If you do that occasionally, fine. But like, don't have that be your whole link building strategy. If your whole backlink profile over the next year is just a bunch of paid listicles, that's not going to look natural to anybody. And should that strategy go by the wayside, or LLMs not like care for those as much anymore, you're not going to be spending a whole year that you just wasted. Where on the other hand, if you're doing this kind of stuff with digital PR, you are building your brand. You are doing things that are providing value both from a algorithmic perspective, but then also a lot more large view as well, more holistic as well.
Nice. And just building upon the whole brand mention and implied link thing and outreach. So you've reached out to a journalist, right? They've covered the study. They mention the brand, but they do not link. Should we be following up with that journalist asking for a link, or is that asking for too much?
Yeah, we do. Just a nice request, just like, hey, thanks so much. We appreciate it. By the way, like, you might just want to include a link to the study. That way they can access this data. Again, don't make the pitch based on you owe me this. I want this SEO value. Right. Make a case to them in terms of why that's a good user experience and why that's better for their user, so that, hey, they can get better, quicker access to the data that you're referring to and find additional insights. So I think it's totally fine to reach back out and make that kind of a case to them. If they say no, that's fine. Brand mention's great. Roll with it. But if you can get them at it, then that's great.
Nice. And last question, going back to the surveys, Jewel asks, how many questions would you recommend a survey being? How long should it be?
Good question, yeah.
Maybe 1 question, 3 questions, 30 questions, right? Like, what are your thoughts there? What do you typically get the best response with?
So real quick, I forgot my last thing with the links. In your fair use, you have a fair use statement in your article. And if you, in your fair use, just recommend, like suggest and recommend they include a link with the article, that can set an expectation for the journalist as well. So try that. That can help. But yes, now next question. How many survey questions? So definitely not 3, definitely not 30. I would say probably in that 10 to 15 questions range is where a typical survey is going to end up. You want enough variation in your questions that you've got different stories that you can tell. Like I was showing in my presentation, we want to come away with at least 5 to 6 interesting, newsworthy key takeaways that we can point to. And in order to get that, you've got to have at least, 10 to 15 different questions that you're asking that can help you come away with that. So yeah, I would say that range is pretty good. Once you get like over 17, 18, 20 plus, like you're going to get too long with your survey. But if you do less than 10, you're not going to get enough data to get those takeaways that you need. Gotcha.
We have a minute. Oh, we're at the hour mark. If you want to, Michael, you can go ahead and share that last slide again. So
all right,
QR code and how to contact you.
Let's do it. So here's my QR code one more time. If you want to chat, I will spend 30 minutes with you talking about all things digital PR and link building. I'll come prepared with 5 free digital PR pitches, a link gap analysis. And then, like I said, we'll spend 30 minutes. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, on X, or shoot me an email if you have any questions. Like Eric says here, it's free. Just
wait, this 30 minutes with you is free?
It is. That's what I'm saying. I'm like giving tons of value away here. Of course, I do ask that you give me some feedback before we jump on the call. You need to tell me what your website is. I'm not just going to go blind onto a call. I need to show you see some intent there, but I will absolutely spend 30 minutes with people who are genuinely wanting to learn more about digital PR and make it work for their organization.
Awesome. Thank you for being of service in that respect, Michael.
You bet.
And then I see the links on here, but where can folks find you online?
LinkedIn, I have the most boring name ever, Michael Johnson. So you'll want to do Michael Johnson Resolve, put that into your search bar. You'll find me. My X handle is Michael_Resolve. And then my email address is michael@growresolve.com.
Great. Well, Michael, thank you very much. As always, it's been a pleasure. And of course, thank you to Resolve as well for being our partner and for you being our partner today. And really appreciate the information. For any questions that we did not get answered, we'll be sifting through them and sending over to Michael. And hopefully we can get those together in the email recap. And again, today's presentation, video and slides will be made available to everyone who attended or signed up for today's webinar. Anything else we should know before we sign off, Michael?
No, thank you all so much. Had a blast, and definitely excited to connect with some of you after and continue the conversation. Thanks so much for checking this out.
All right. Have a great day, everyone, and see you on the next SEJ webinar. Thank you very much.
Bye, everybody.